the United States of America's cabinet member for small business for the whole nation, my friend, Ms. Guzman.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
I get always blown on the way up here. One of the reasons we're delayed was when a billionaire stops you, you stop. And so, by the way, do you know there's no ugly billionaires? You'll get that later, but I'm serious. So anyway, one of my friends stopped me. Tony Ressler stops me. I love Tony Ressler. He's a fantastic human being. He stops me. He says, his voice is almost gone. He's like, the SBA administrator, this is how you get access to capital. I was like, Tony, you can't even talk. I know, but I'm telling you, you got to cut a deal with her. I said, we've already cut a deal. No, cut another one. So he gets what I'm about to try to communicate to you. We're the largest economy in the world. There's about 8 billion people in the world, give or take, a little under 8 billion. There's 350 million in the United States, give or take. There's 30 million companies, give or take, a little bit more than that, in the United States. By the way, 3 million of those black businesses, about 3.1 million black businesses. How many Latino?
Just over oh no, I'm blanking on my numbers, sorry.
It's 4 to 5 million.
It's just about 5 million.
5 million Latino. And by the way, it depends which
period
Latino.
Of time.
Right. And of all of that, most employment in the biggest economy in the world are small businesses. And the city of LA, which is one of the largest economies in the world, is driven by mostly small businesses. When you drive by an office building, you look at those little windows, that's a dentist's office. It's a chiropractor. It's a lawyer. I mean, it's an architect. These are small businesses, 3, 4, 5, 10, 50 employees, and every nation in the world marvels at how America did this but as you heard from the UPS CEO, every big business was once a small one. And the country was smart enough to place its chief executive officer for small business on the President of the United States of America's cabinet. So Ms. Guzman, Administrator Guzman, sits with the President of the United States of America in his cabinet. Someday it'll be her cabinet. And she represents you and your interests, but she also shows up in your community and is accessible. And even though she walks with a light touch and she's very approachable, I don't want you to get it twisted. This is one of the most powerful women in the world.
Thank you.
And you can go anywhere in the world because you look like everybody. People can't tell. Is she Asian? Is she Latino? Is she black? Is she white? Are you Indian? You're actually you're a bit of gumbo, aren't you?
I am. I'm quite mixed. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're a perfect person for the job.
I grew up mostly, Mexican-American background, but, I have
in Los
everything.
Angeles.
In Los Angeles, but I have everything. German ancestry from my mom, like way back, a Klein in Mexico somehow. And then, of course, some Chinese as well we've discovered, thanks to genetic advances. But yes, everything.
And so you and I have come together on several fronts, the Freedmen's Bank being one front, small business law because I'm an entrepreneur in general. In fact, Operation Hope's first legitimate funding, source of funding, our first budget, people don't know, was a $61,000. Our budget's like $54 million a year now. We've done $4 billion of capital through Operation Hope into underserved neighborhoods. We're the largest we do in the country, and arguably this meeting's the largest in the world. It goes on, it goes on. Thank you. At 400 employees, 30,000 volunteers. But it started with a $61,000 grant, 7J grant from the U.S. Small Business Administration. People ask me, John, why are you so bipartisan? Beyond the fact that I think that it's a radical movement of common sense to work with everybody, beyond that, Mayor Tom Bradley, who was a Democrat, called then President George H.W. Bush, who was the Republican, and while the Republican was going on his way out of office after the Rodney King riots, they cut a deal to get me the last piece of money that was sitting at the SBA. They said, we don't have much. We have $61,000. I said, I'll take it.
That's what it takes sometimes, as every entrepreneur out there knows, right?
And that's what started Operation Hope. And most big business, a lot of big businesses, if you can name them off, also started with humble beginnings like that. So the 7J program is an SBA program. So literally we owe our history to the SBA. You and I now have a partnership through the 1 billion or the 1 million Black Business Initiative, right. 1MBB, and we've gone around the country on a tour with this, and you guys will hear more about this, I think, tomorrow, because the founder of Shopify is going to be with us, came from Canada, who's another great guy, Toby. But I think Lance will let me say this, our partnership post-George Floyd in the last 2.5 years, 1MBB, has now racked almost 400,000 Black businesses created, nurtured, supported, which is more than 10% of all Black businesses in this country, and we're growing. So thank you for your support. How does all of this fit into your vision? And the other governments are calling on you, by the way, to counsel them on to do what we've done here. Banks are using your SBA guarantees to lower the risk on their balance sheets. You're doing venture capital effectively through the SBIC program, which allows companies to provide, financiers to provide debt and equity instruments to put people in business. Am I doing all right so far?
You are. And it's all about the American dream of business ownership, right? Just obviously there's there's failure with the risk taking that we try to incentivize in this country. We are a startup nation because we encourage people with great ideas to jump in and start their business. And the SBA is the agency that focuses on trying to increase those success outcomes, de-risk the marketplace, and ensure that our businesses can succeed by giving them the funding that they need, whether that's through non-dilutive grants, through innovation research grants in our government, or directly through investments, or through loans. We want to make sure that they have the funding so they can create those jobs and expand their businesses and compete globally. As a nation, we need to focus on that. But it's also about giving them the know-how, the technical assistance, because it's one thing to have all these great capital programs, but it's getting businesses capital ready and connecting them to capital. So the know-how, knowledge networks, and then of course the revenue growth opportunities, because capital is one side, but you got to grow your revenues. And that is really a critical part where the SBA steps in to connect to federal contracting, to trade abroad, to local market, digital e-commerce. And it's just a great opportunity for us to make sure that the United States continues to lead with its entrepreneurial rate so that it can innovate, so that we can create competition in this country and deliver the products and services that everyone comes to depend on. And there's just been an incredible history of the SBA, 70 years. But Chobani, an immigrant entrepreneur, started with an SBA 504 loan to buy his manufacturing facility. Jenny's Ice Cream, or Full Circle Brewing, the largest Black brewer in the country,
wow.
is started with an SBA loan, a small dollar loan. We have Sweet Green. There's a Latino founder. He found a microloan with his partners to start Sweet Green. Just some incredible stories. Our innovation research grants has started the likes of Qualcomm or iRobot, some incredible advancements in our economy. And then, of course, we have our SBIC program, those investments, both debt and equity that we provide through our partners on the ground. That's funded everything from Build-A-Bear, Topgolf, Tesla, Radio One, and just in a remarkable program. But it is about the revenue too. And there are a couple handfuls of Black billionaires. The second top billionaire started with an 8A program.
Really?
So this is government contracting and worldwide technology, IT infrastructure,
wow.
Providing the types of revenue growth opportunities that only the 8A government contracting program can do. So really it gives us great pride to be able to have these remarkable programs at the SBA to make sure that the American economy can continue to grow.
And people don't also realize, the full breadth of the SBA. whenever there's a disaster in this country, Congress stipulates that the funding for that disaster goes through actually the Small Business Administration. And if you're not financially literate, you may ask yourself, you had a disaster, why am I calling the SBA? Why am I don't know, I have a small business. You end up walking away from all these resources that may be available to you because you don't understand, you're not financially literate, you don't understand how money works, you haven't stopped to understand the process. But every disaster in America, disaster recovery relief, long-term comes, you get a couple grand from FEMA as a grant. Everything else, as I understand it, comes through.
So an SBA is on the ground with FEMA from day one in disasters. I like to say that it doesn't make sense to most people when I say that we don't just fund small businesses, but we also do homeowner loans as well, so they can rebuild their homes in disaster, renters, so that they can replace their car, their personal effects. But we go in to make sure that not only the small businesses can recover, but their employees, their customers, the whole community needs to recover. And the economic recovery support function of the federal government in disasters is squarely within the SBA's portfolio. And so we provide disaster loans. There's been over $5 billion in funding since the president took office to natural disasters, any disruption around the country, including gun violence. Monterey Park, we supported those businesses that were impacted by the gun violence. And so it's an incredible program. It's why the SBA is front and center in economic development, but we want to make sure that our communities, especially in the face of natural disasters and the changing effect due to climate change, that communities can recover. And small businesses oftentimes don't plan for that disruption. And so to be able to get our economic injury disaster loan, our physical disaster loan, really makes a difference for communities. And this past year, we did nearly $1 billion in funding to help support. I mean, obviously, you're on the ground in Hawaii. You were there with us. Thank you so much for your support. Really, making sure that we can provide, the financial literacy as well as the support to get people back on their feet. And it's not just to get them back on their feet, but of course, I said we do government contracting. In Hawaii, for example, we made sure that over $200 million in contracts for Hawaii to recover, for Maui to be able to go to small businesses so that they're a part of the rebuilding in Maui.
So I'm about to give you some insight into the real Guzman. So I'm in Maui because that's a place that I would go every 6 months to renew myself. It's the most remote landmass in the world, 5 or 6 hour plane flight from the closest direction of landmass. And I'd go there to reconnect with nature and myself. It's a spiritual thing for me, and to breathe. And unfortunately, this disaster happened 2 days after I landed with the Maui devastating fires. And my heart was broken by that. But it was renewed when I got a call from you. And you knew I was there. You wanted to let me know you were coming. And the FEMA administrator also was coming. You had hitched a ride, as I understand. So it was her mission, but you wanted to go to support her. And I wanted to meet you when you were there. And but I wasn't part of your official program. And you made sure that people there knew about our work. The governor and everybody else knew about the senators, and you made sure that I was in the flow. We were in the flow of conversation. You hooked me up with your aides and made sure we were part of all that discussion. Now, that may not sound extraordinary to you, but now I want you to think about this. She wasn't concerned about herself because she was going with the disaster it just struck. So everybody's focused on the FEMA administrator, who's a very nice person. They're focused on her as they rightly should. I don't know anybody, other cabinet member who could have done this. Of any presidential administration, she was invisible the entire time she was there. The people in Hawaii who had never dealt with a disaster like this before did not know who the administrator for the SBA was, I say this respectfully, and did not know how important her function was. And she did not have enough insecure ego to demand that they know. She was comfortable in her own skin. She was there to do a job. And the job was to serve people, to support the administrator, her friend, to support the governor and the U.S. senators, support the Biden administration, to support the vice president, to support the citizens, and to support me. And so she's got me, she's introducing me, she's making sure I'm plugged in. But we had to actually work to get her in the press conference. And she's like, no, I'm good. They were almost walked around her because she is so humble that this lady who's a member of the president's cabinet was basically being, carved around because they did not understand her role, and she didn't force it on them. She felt no need to. Why? When you got the power, you don't need to use it.
Thank you.
We've never had this conversation, but I thought that was so, well, it's just very authentic of you. It's just who you are. You weren't sour. You were completely fine.
I mean, Senator Hirono, who's on the Small Business Committee, so it was fortuitous, wanted to make sure that I was on the ground. She knew that my time would come later when economic development, but right now you're still searching for survivors. I mean, this was a devastating time. No time to talk about rebuilding or SBA disaster assistance. And so, but it was important for me to get on the ground and understand the gravity of the situation and, tell people on the ground that the president's committed to making sure that we're there in the long term and that we're there to support them so that those fears could just be put aside as the community heals. And so that's what the SBA does. And, it's just such a powerful platform, and I have a lot of passion for it, but it's impacting communities around the country. And as you know, financial literacy, access to capital is such a strong topic that you and I like to talk about. But we've really, and this is something that I'm so proud of in the administration, is that President Biden and Vice President Harris have from day one focused on access to capital for our small businesses. And we've made significant reforms across our program. I knew exactly what I wanted to do to expand small dollar lending, to increase access for all of our communities. I want the distribution networks to be broader, the check writers to look like the businesses that are starting at the fastest race right now in our economy.
That's right.
And I want to make sure that they're simple, accessible, that they meet the needs of businesses today, expanded eligibility, simplified underwriting, so that we can really reach all of our businesses. And I'm proud to say that, since our reforms and in the past 2 years, the Biden-Harris administration, over 2 years, we've seen a doubling of lending to Black entrepreneurs in this country to $1.5 billion last year.
Access to capital.
Access to capital, and that is transformative. I mean, the SBA has had this stubborn inability to make reforms over 4 decades, but we are broadening our distribution networks to new types of lenders, recognizing that Black borrowers go straight online more likely than going into a bank. We know that in order for us to really fund and secure our economic future, everything from making sure we innovate in national defense to create the best new food products on the shelves, we need to fund all of our great entrepreneurs. And so this is an administration that really cares about communities, that wants to make sure that we all can succeed as the president makes these historic investments in America. From infrastructure to the clean energy economy to manufacturing and making in America. And that is to his resolve, our efforts across the whole of government to deliver. And for us, it's access to capital. And I know those reforms in lending have also been translated to our reforms in investments. And we are right now accepting massive amounts of interest and new applications in our investment vehicles so that we can fund the next Radio One. And we can make sure that these future 8A contractors get the money that they need to grow and scale as large as WWT. I mean, we really, that's over a $14 billion global phenomenon now, from a little 8A growing up in federal government contracting. So this is the power of our platforms, and really as the Biden-Harris administration invests in all our communities so that the economy can grow, the SBA is making sure that we do it with small businesses in mind.
I want to say we're out of time, but I have a special announcement to make about you for 2 reasons. One, for the first time since 2004, this country is not going to be successful without business startups. As you said, we got not just cash checks, we got to have more people who write checks, small business owners, entrepreneurs at scale. And I've said there needs to be a small business revolution in this country. That's the easiest way to get people from the streets to the suites, because even if you have some kind of a record or some kind of a blemish on your public report in life, you can reinvent yourself as a small business owner, and there's no tax on that. And under your leadership, since 2004, America's had more small business startups than any time since 2004, post-pandemic. The largest group of small businesses starting up, of all businesses, are black businesses.
Yeah, it's good. We've seen 14.6 million new business applications, and black entrepreneurship has doubled.
The largest category amongst all categories are black women. But that's not why I'm going to give you this award. I'm going to give you this award because I've known 9 U.S. presidents. We've been recognized by 5 U.S. presidents from both parties. As a result of that, I've dealt with countless cabinet members, countless SBA, a number of SBA administrators. You came here, as you came to South Central LA, as you came to Atlanta, as you came to Maui, with a security detail because you're a member of the president's cabinet. You walk with a light touch, but don't touch her too fast. May get laid out. If you're in here today, understand you've been scanned, you've been screened. Yeah, I hope you don't have a warrant. They know about it. Because wherever she goes, the team, the Secret Service team, is making sure she's okay. But you never know it from her, because she is literally not only the most effective SBA administrator I'm going to upset a couple of my friends when I say this, but it's the truth. She's the most effective SBA administrator I have ever worked with in 31 years, but she's also the nicest.
That's very kind.
And so for that reason, Isabel Guzman, Administrator for the SBA, in recognition of your dedication to ensuring that every American has the opportunity to pursue their small business dreams and contribute to the success of the world's most dynamic economy, we present you with the Hope's Chairman's Award for 2023.
Yay, thank you so much.